At Federal, we have products for every season and every pursuit. Our passionate and dedicated teams design, build, and deliver the world's best American-made ammunition, whether you're hunting, target shooting, or defending yourself and family. Our pride and hard work can be found in every box, ammo can, or bottle of ammunition. For us, it's always in season. It's Federal season.
Welcome to the It's Federal Season podcast. I'm Jason Nash here with Brian Kelvington. And Brian, we've got a great guest on today. He's actually here touring the factory. He's exploring a new product we've got coming out that we'll talk about. Jeremy Stafford with Guns and Ammo Magazine. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet, Jeremy. And this is kind of unique for us, too. We have you here today behind the scenes, seeing something that we don't share with a lot of people. So it's great to have you, and especially with your title.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. And, I think it just kind of reflects on the relationship that our companies have had going back to the 1950s. So it makes me proud to be able to come here and tell you guys a story in the magazine.
Likewise. Well, we really appreciate it. Hopefully you've gotten some great insight today from talking to our engineers and our president and our product team. Let's talk about you a little bit first. You know, you're not just a writer and, for Guns and Ammo, you've got a day job too.
Yeah, I do have a day job, at least for another little bit. Yeah, I'm a Los Angeles police officer. I've been on the job for 24 years and had a lot of time. Prior to that, I was in the Marines, and then concurrently, I was in the Marine Corps Reserves. So, I've been blessed. I've been able to do a lot of things and go a lot of places, and now I get to talk about it on the pages of Guns and Ammo. So definitely been blessed.
What is it about the service mentality that drew you in, servicing the United States of America, obviously through the Marines and now the community of Los Angeles?
It's a funny thing. So when it comes to the Marine Corps, my father was a Marine. And I idolized my father as a child. So he would say that was a bad call. But I disagree. It's worked out well for me. And he was a Marine, and some of my earliest memories, and I'm going back to, it was before we moved out of the house I was born in. So I had to be 3 years old. I remember looking at pictures out of my dad's Marine Corps handbook, which I still have. And I remember being 4 and 5 years old and digging through his stuff. So I knew I always wanted to be a Marine. I figured that I was going to go to college and then be an officer in the Marine Corps, but the Gulf War hit. The first Gulf War, kids, the one in the 90s.
So I was in college, and a good friend of mine and I made the decision. He made the decision to go into the Army, and I decided to transfer schools before I was told I was going to transfer schools.
And that's exactly what I did. I dropped out of college, much to my mother's horror. I dropped out of college and enlisted in the Marine Corps, January 17th, 1991. And then, of course, by the time I got out of boot camp, the war was over. So there was that. But it still led to a lot of wonderful opportunities, and it certainly molded me into the man I am today. And, funny little side story, it was 12 years to the day, January 17th, 2003, that I landed in Kuwait for the Iraq War. So I finally did get to go to Iraq. It was just 12 years later than I thought. So it was...
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your service. And, have you always had an affinity for guns? I mean, since you were a kid? Or?
Yeah. I was that kid. And, the funny thing about it is, even though my father's a veteran, he wasn't into guns at the time. And my mom loathed guns. No guns in this house. The only gun that we had was a shotgun that my dad bought off a buddy who needed $50. By the way, it's a very clean Remington 870 that I like a lot. But that was the only gun growing up. And then when I turned 18, I went and I bought my first gun. a Ruger Mini 14 because I couldn't afford an AR-15. But I had saved enough money and I went and got it. But yeah, I was always fascinated by guns growing up. Played with them, drew them, read everything I could about them. I was that kid that rode my bike to the, and I was talking to some of the other guys about this earlier. I was that kid that rode my bike to 7-Eleven, which was a convenience store, and I would read Guns and Ammo every month. And I would read Cooper's Corner, and I would read all the articles. And to be here all these years later, and to be the handgun editor for that magazine, it's kind of like a dream come true. But
That's awesome. What flavor Slurpee did you get?
cherry, man, always cherry. When I'm feeling a little frisky, I might add in a little bit of the Coke.
Yeah, the Coke was good.
The Coke, but all these weird tangerines and stuff. No, you get out of here with that.
And then what snack cake did you have go along with that for the full sugar rush?
It's funny because I didn't have much of a sweet tooth. I probably would have just ended up getting a hot dog.
Well, I can't walk away without those little Debbie zebras. Those little white and
those are
chocolate
good.
ones are good.
Those are good too.
Yeah.
So how did you end up, being the handgun editor for Guns and Ammo? Like, where was the connection from your service to Guns and Ammo?
So that's a pretty neat story. A lot of times these things, especially in the firearms industry, don't happen linearly. They kind of happen tangentially, and that's what happened. I after I deployed to Iraq in 2003, I was involved in some combat operations there, and when I got back the next year, I was actually processing out of the Marine Corps because, as my wife told me at the time, I didn't sign up to be an active duty wife, and she didn't. So I was getting out of the Marine Corps because at that time, even if you were in the reserves, you were fundamentally an active duty Marine. We were just constantly deployed. And I'm not complaining. I was enjoying the hell out of it. My wife and kids were not, though. So I was getting out, and then I got a phone call from a colonel who was also in the LAPD. He was a reserve colonel that had been activated and was active duty, and they actually gave him sanctuary, so he is now an active duty colonel. And he said, "Hey," and he called me a name that I'm not going to repeat here. I love you too, Phil. He said, "They want to give you the Bronze Star." And I said, "Yeah, they talked about that a long time ago, but I'm getting out. It's not going to happen." He said, "No, I'm sitting here right next to the 1 star, and you're getting the Bronze Star with a V. So we want to do it. You want to come down?" Or it was I'm going to call Chief Bratton's office. And I said, "Okay, great." And I remember I was with my wife shopping for socks. It's just one of those weird things that sticks in your head. And I told her, and I said, "But it's not going to happen. They're just talk." And then, oh my God, it happened. And the general came up from Camp Pendleton, and they had the award ceremony at the police headquarters facility, and it was on TV. And I'll never forget that for 2 reasons. One, it was right at the time when John Kerry was running, and they were making a big deal out of the fact that he had thrown his Vietnam medals away out of protest. And the newsman asked me, he said, "Would you ever throw this away like John Kerry?" And I said, "If John Kerry tried to touch this medal, I'd punch him in the mouth." They didn't put it on. They didn't put it on the news. Crazy. So I wouldn't forget that. And then the other reason I won't forget is because it was the last time I had all of my grandparents, both my grandmothers in the room at the same time. And they saw me get the medal. So that was really cool. But it was on TV, and Rich Vanola, who ran the special interest publications for Guns and Ammo at the time, saw it. And Guns and Ammo used to be on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. Not a lot of people realize that, but Southern California, Los Angeles in particular, was where a lot of the modern technique of handgunning was born, because we can shoot year-round there. And Jeff Cooper started his leather slap matches, and Guns and Ammo was out there because Bob Peterson was a huge gun guy and a huge car guy. And it was just this perfect storm in the 1950s. And that's where this genesis of what we consider the modern gun culture started just like modern hot rod culture started right there. So the offices were still there at the time, and he invited me to come shooting with him, and I did. And he asked me about the story because he was going to write about it, because I used a Mossberg shotgun in that particular case, in that particular battle, so to speak. And by the end of it, he said, well, why don't you just write it? Or he asked me, can you write it? And I said, oh, I've been writing for years. I can do that. And I had no idea how to write. Even though I was reading gun magazines, I think I wrote that article like 15 times, man, before I turned it in. But that one article just kind of snowballed, and I would call and bother him. Hey, can I write another article? Oh, well, your stuff's not that good. And, he would tell me, it's not that good, and I have to edit it heavy. And I'll tell you what, write about this, but I'm only paying you $500. Okay. I mean, to me, that I had young kids, and my youngest had just, turned into a pity party. My youngest had just drowned. So, he had a lot of medical bills, a lot of brain damage. And so I was kind of struggling. So he would just throw me these articles occasionally. And then he went to Guns and Ammo, and Jerry Lee is a guy who they brought in to do the SIPs on an interim basis until they could find who they really wanted. And so Jerry calls me up and he says, hey, just want to introduce myself, and I really love your stuff, and we want to get you more involved. Oh, wow. Okay. This is great. And he goes, hey, how much is Rich paying you? And I told him, and he goes, what? What? And I was like, oh no, they're going to give me less money. He goes, and Rich has passed. So, guys, please don't think I'm speaking ill of a man who was my mentor. I'm not. It was just the old school way. He goes, that son of a bitch is lowballing you. He goes, this is the price we pay. I went, oh, wow.
Nice promotion.
So I did. I got a little promotion, and I got more work. And then Rich brought me over to Guns and Ammo, where I wrote a little bit. And then Eric Poole, who's currently the editor-in-chief, had taken over the SIPs. So I was writing a lot for him. And then I was one of the guys he brought in when he took over Guns and Ammo. And it was just a matter of, anytime your work and your expertise has to be vetted, it's a slow process. That's why on YouTube, you can have a YouTube channel and you can get hot and you can get millions of views, and you can really know nothing. You cannot know what the hell you're talking about, and people will still watch it because it's entertainment, but it's not vetted. Well, it's not like that when you're writing for Guns and Ammo magazine. So I was a firearms instructor in the Marine Corps, combat experience in the Marine Corps. And then for 9 years, I was the subject matter expert for firearms for the Los Angeles Police Department. And, so my expertise is vetted. My knowledge is vetted. When I write things, it's vetted. And that takes time. There's no just catching fire, getting hot, and being the handgun editor at Guns and Ammo magazine.
I knew Richard pretty well, and he was one of the most knowledgeable people. Not only was he a great storyteller, he'd make you laugh like crazy over the dinner table, but he was one of the most knowledgeable technical experts on guns. So
absolutely,
you couldn't get away with anything.
Nope.
If you're trying to slide something by him, he knew every detail.
Nope. And you know what? It's still that way. Not a lot of people realize it, but Eric Poole is not only is he, a wonderful writer and an editor, the man was an armorer for Blackwater. He had combat experience in Iraq in the Marine Corps, VMI graduate. If you think you're going to slide any crap past that man, you're out of your mind. You're not sliding anything past him. So it's the same thing. I went from Rich Vanola, who knew more than me, to Eric Poole now. And Eric's not afraid to challenge me, and he's also not afraid to test me. And
we met Eric when he worked for the NRA, and he was their armorer at the time. And I ask him all the time. He had a license plate that said Hydroshock on it, and I don't know what happened to it. I hope he still got it somewhere. We'd love to have it if he doesn't want it.
I'm not going to tell you what his new license plate says. I'll tell you off air.
Well, he's got to mix it up, right?
So, Jeremy, what makes a good story in your opinion? Well, but we'll talk about why we brought you here today. But generally, what makes a good story for you to tell in the magazine?
When you're writing a story for Guns and Ammo, we are first and foremost a technical journal. So it has to be something that piques that interest in people. For Guns and Ammo magazine, there has to be a technical backbone or a technical component to that story, first and foremost. It has to be educational and it has to be relevant. There's just not enough pages to write passion pieces. You know what I mean? If you've got a passion piece, that's what the SIPs are for. You can wax poetic. I have a hard word count and I have to tell people in a very short period of time what this product is all about. But if you try to get too technical with it, it doesn't resonate. We're storytellers, you know what I mean? And that's the tricky thing about it. You have to take what is a technical, dry journal and you have to turn it into a story that people can connect with, because that's how these relationships are built. So you have to be kind of clever about it, and you only have 1,200 words to do it. So when I turn in a story, it's 1,200 words. By the time Eric's done editing it, it's less. And you have to find that personal connection, because adult human beings learn best if they're able to make connections, and not just emotionally to something, but if they're able to make a comparison to something that they are familiar with, they're going to learn better. And that's been proven time and time again with adults. So when you can write an article that connects on not only the technical end, but also connects on the emotional end, and then connects on that attachment part of it, where you are relaying things that they can pull out of their own memory bank and apply, then you really kind of hit the trifecta. And that makes a good article. That makes something where people are going to learn, they're going to see what they need to see, but they're going to see it in a way that makes sense and resonates to them. And pardon me, it's not going to resonate with everybody. It's not. There are, that's why certain writers have certain people that love them. You know what I mean? And other writers, people go, oh, I don't like that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or, his stuff's too dry, or, things like that. So you're not going to please everybody, but you got to be true to your own vision. You got to be true to the magazine. And, you just have to be able to write something that connects. And, that connection piece is a big deal, especially nowadays on video stuff. When, we talk about, and I'm not poking fun at the YouTube gun community at all. I love it. It's thriving, and it's done really well for us. But you have a lot of guys on there they're just entertainers, and it's easy to be entertaining with guns. It really is. And it's easy to be entertaining about guns and just throw in an occasional tidbit. But when you're talking about writing for a technical journal, the premier technical journal, I would put Guns and Ammo staff ahead of anybody's in the industry right now. We've got myself, we've got Eric Poole, we got Tom Beckstrand, Rich Nance. All of us have carried guns for a living and gone into harm's way. We have guys on staff like Gary James, who's been doing it since the 60s. He's been writing. Craig Boddington, who was my CO in the Marine Corps.
A lot of knowledge there.
Lot of institutional knowledge in one place, and by serious men who have depended on these guns, have depended on these tools for their life. And that is going to, I think, resonate a little bit deeper than maybe somebody else. But that story needs to get out. That story needs to be told. And I know Eric doesn't like to toot our own horn, but I'll do it every chance I get. You're not going to find a pool of vetted talent like this at any other magazine.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's impressive. And you talk about articles and telling a good story, but being somewhat concise. When I was in school, the lower the word count that I had to turn in, the better. But actually, as a writer, it's probably really difficult for you to take all of this information about guns and ammunition and all the things you're writing about and condense it into that,
Yeah.
short of an article.
If I could write 2,000 words, I'd be happy. But that's not going to happen. There's just not enough space in the magazine, And if sometimes even over 1,200, I'll get a strongly worded email back.
Writing tight is a skill.
It is
Yeah.
a skill.
Yep.
But so get to what we brought you here today is how are you going to whittle down what you learned today about about 30 super carry into 1,200 words? Because we are breaking news here today for our audiences.
We are. And so this is breaking news, the 30 super carry. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. My plane ride home is going to be miserable because I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. And also, guys, I'm not blowing smoke here, but when you come to this facility and you see the history and the passion and the love that's put into the product. I mean, you guys have people that have been here for 30. You guys were just telling me a guy retired after 45 years. You don't get passion and commitment like that in every company. Federal definitely is something special. And to be able to weave that into a story that is, breaking a brand new cartridge, a brand new caliber. It's going to be pretty tough. So, I think this one I'm going to have to lean towards the technical aspect, especially because it's new and there's going to be so many people that want to know every little detail about it. So we're going to skew towards the technical on this one, but maybe for one of the SIPs, maybe it'll let me write a little something more flowery.
An SIP, special interest publication,
right?
For those people who don't recognize the acronym. And the 30 super carry. We can't wait to see your piece on it. We're excited about it. It's a brand new cartridge in a world where 9mm is king.
Yes,
and it gives you more capacity.
Yeah,
with similar ballistics.
Yeah, in fact, pretty much identical ballistics. They can kind of overlay, especially with the lighter bullets, especially. Comparing that 100 grain super carry to 115 grain 9mm. The performance was astonishing. Not to get too technical, I know it's a podcast, but it's not a technical journal, but the 30 super carry, for those of you that are just listening to this, it is a smaller diameter cartridge that's roughly the same length. So you're looking at a slightly smaller bullet that is going to allow about a 20% increase in magazine capacity across the board. So for those flush fit micro 9s, the Shield EZ or the Shield pistols, the Springfield Hellcat, things like that, those micro 9s that have flush fit 10 rounders, you're going to get a flush fit 12 rounder now, and you're getting ballistically identical performance. We shot the gel blocks today. We shot through heavy clothing today. We did accuracy testing today, and out of the Nighthawk pistol that was chambered for the 30 super carry, we were getting 1-inch groups. I mean, it's there. It's on video. There's pictures of it. I know a lot of times people think, well, the guns aren't that accurate. Well, no, the guns are that accurate if you are. Even out of the short little Smith & Wesson EZ today, we were getting 3-inch groups. We're getting the penetration that anybody would want, 12 to 14 inches in bare gel, 13 to 15 inches in heavy clothing. It's just, guys, it's an absolute winner. No increased recoil, even though it's a high pressure cartridge. the round, your guys' ability to take something, take a concept, and then be able to make all these computer models and put that into production, and your R&D steps to be able to do that in 2 years is pretty amazing. And to be able to identify that gap in performance between 380 and 9mm, because really that's where that huge gap is, right? I know that the 40 shooters are going to think, well, 40's king, and the 45 shooters, I know they all fall to hardball. I get it. And the 9mm shooters, capacity is king. But the reality is 9, 40, 45 all pretty much do the same thing. They really do. If you take somebody who's shot by a 9, take him to the morgue or take him to a hospital, the doctor's not going to be able to tell if that was a 9, a 40, or 45. They're just not. You take them, you shoot somebody with a 22, 25, 32, even a 380, the doctor's going to be able to tell it was a subcaliber. They just are. So there was that gap between 380 and 9. And the super carry really does a nice job of filling that gap, guys. It really does. The way you guys identified that and then kind of attacked it to piggyback on top of this big resurgence or big surge of micro 9 pistols, the SIG 365, Springfield Hellcat, the Mossberg MC2SC, the Shield. I can go on and on and on. The Ruger Max 9 is a fantastic little pistol. Kimber Mako. This round is designed for those guns. And you can get even smaller if you want to. I can't wait to see what the gun manufacturers do when they start building guns around it. That's going to be really exciting to see, because I have a feeling you're going to get even a little bit better capacity in a smaller footprint. You're going to get smaller, thinner slide width, thinner stocks, easier carry gun. I'm really excited to see where they go with this, but this first wave, really impressive. And the fact that you guys are launching 6 SKUs with 2 guns right out the gate, that's really cool. I think this is going to have some legs, definitely.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. We, as you mentioned, our initial launch partners are Nighthawk Custom, kind of the Ferrari of 1911s, and then Smith & Wesson is going to be our big, volume partner. And of course, as we'd certainly want others to join, but those are our partners for the launch. And we're kind of like Eric. We don't like to brag a lot about our teams, but we have got a fantastic technical staff and product team. And we're really proud that you had the chance to come in and see it, and help us tell the story. Thank you.
And even the engineers here are just so passionate about the project. I was with Chris, and Chris is like, "Look at that! Look at that!" Chris is one of the guys. Look at that! Look at the upset! Oh my God! Look at it! And I'm like, I'm getting excited because he's so excited. I'm like, oh, this is awesome!
And he can call everyone, right? The performance.
He did. He said, okay, so this is going to penetrate about 12 inches, and you'll see this one penetrate about 13 and a half inches. It was right on. Penetrated right at 12 inches, penetrated right at 13 and a half inches. I mean, it wasn't even, there was no wiggle room. He called it, and it was exact.
And we're going to have Chris on in our next segment of Tech Talk, just to go a little bit deeper into the cartridge. But overall, it's hard to always predict how things are going to turn out, but your expertise, your knowledge base, your service, where do you see this cartridge?
Well, initially, honestly, I think there's probably going to be a little pushback from people who don't quite understand it, and that's part of what us in the firearms industry are going to need to do is let people know this. Look, we're not talking about supplanting 9mm duty round, right? What we're trying to do is provide you with a better option for a carry pistol. That's why it's the 30 Super Carry. And I think when we start getting that messaging through to people that, this is a specialized cartridge for this particular style of gun, and these are the design parameters, and this is the benefit of it. I think people will start to come around. You're going to have the naysayers, and you're going to have people that are like, well, you just need to make more 9mm and make more 5.56. Those are the only calibers you should make.
We've never heard that before.
Right? Unfortunately, in the firearms industry, just like every other industry, sometimes people can't see past their own niche. So you'll have the tactical shooters that don't understand why ammo companies make anything other than 9 and 5.56. You're gonna have the more traditional shooters that are like, God, I just can't find my 44 special the way I used to. We're all a victim of our own, prism, the way we look at things, and sometimes it just takes a little reset so everybody can see that it is a huge market out there. And just because you add one thing doesn't mean you need to take away from something else. And there's not going to be less 9mm because you guys are making 30 Super Carry now.
Right.
And that's something that I'll also be sure to throw in the article too. Don't worry, guys. They're still making plenty of 9mm.
Well, Jeremy, it's been a pleasure talking with you and having you in the factory. And, I know you got a chance to shoot with the team and shoot gelatin and try out the product in multiple guns. So we can't wait to read the article. Thank you for being here. Guns and Ammo is one of our favorite titles, and we appreciate it.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you guys having me out here, and I appreciate the friendship between our companies for such a long time. And I'm looking forward to another 50 years. And I'm looking forward to you guys being around a long, long, long time too. 100 years coming up. That's pretty awesome, guys. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Meet the industry's widest variety of game-changing ammunition. However you shoot and whatever you hunt, fortune favors the prepared. And nothing prepares you better than Federal Premium. It's a gold standard advantage delivered directly from the experts in premium ammunition. Find your Federal Premium advantage today.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season and our technology segment, Tech Talk.
All right, well, we're back on It's Federal Season with Chris Laack, Product Manager for Handgun Ammunition, and one of our great experts in the company, here to talk about the brand new 30 Super Carry. Chris, how excited are you for this?
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed. Yeah, it's new calibers, new cartridges are always interesting, right? 'Cause you really want to go someplace that hasn't been covered before, and this one, every time we go and shoot it, every time I get a chance to get some more rounds through the guns now, and we're starting to get more of the guns, kind of the production guns coming in, it never gets old. It's just every time it's a thrill, and it's the real deal, man. It's fun to see it happen and get in the terminal testing and do all that stuff and see it really work exactly the way we all envisioned it was going to work. So yeah, I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of the 30 Super Carry product, what niche it fills. Yeah,
and that's important with all of our new product development, right? We try and find an unmet or undermet need in the market, and what is the market need that isn't being serviced. And our engineer who came up with the idea, we kind of challenged him to help us find a good spot where we could come up with something in handgun that wasn't being adequately serviced in the market. And what we found is that it's carry based, right? Concealed carry based, just the prominence of personal defense in our industry and what people are buying guns for, and all the new shooters, and then this huge influx of compact, subcompact, high capacity 9mm, and you could really see where the market was going. But we know that why do people carry a handgun for personal defense? Because a long gun's impractical, right? A handgun has inherent limitations, so you carry it because it's small and it's practical. And for it to be practical, it needs to be pretty tiny, it needs to be compact, needs to carry easy, but still needs to be controllable and effective, terminally effective. And that kind of left us with two classes of firearm in the industry and cartridges, and you have everything up to and including 380 is kind of one family, the subcompacts, small, kind of moderately effective cartridges. And then you've got a huge terminal performance jump up to 9mm, especially the modern 9mm with what we know how to build bullets today. And then from there, you get small incremental gains as you go up in cartridge after that. So 40 and 45 and all of these other cartridges, you get small incremental gains. So the really big performance gap was between 380 and 9. And then what we also saw is the big difference in carrying guns, right? You have guys that 3 seasons out of the year are carrying 9mm, but then in the summer they move to a 380, just less clothing. It's harder to carry. So I'm moving to something smaller and more practical, something I can carry in a pocket. So that there was that gap too, and just in what guns people selected. So with 30 Super Carry, what we tried to do is find a cartridge that would be as terminally effective as 9mm, but would allow you potentially to carry something the size of a 380, or could get you more capacity than a 9mm. So to have that terminal effectiveness, but have more rounds on board than a 9.
You characterized it this morning as it carries like a 380, but it hits like a 9. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, and we think, that's going to be more of kind of the wave 2 of the guns, right? Because we need to give the gun manufacturers a little more time to design an entire frame around a gun. But that was really the idea of that cartridge, was if you carry it in a platform that's the same size as a 9mm, you're going to get more rounds on board, the same terminal effectiveness or very, very close terminal effectiveness to the 9, and similar recoil impulse, similar muzzle flash things. So it's going to not be that different than shooting a 9, but give you more rounds. And that's kind of the wave 1. And then that wave 2, we expect the firearms manufacturers will be able to take this cartridge, because it is a smaller diameter than a 9, about the same overall length, but smaller diameter. So you can shrink that grip size and kind of develop a frame around it to be able to make something that is smaller. So the 380 being shorter and the same diameter as a 9, you get a smaller frame, but this is actually a better way to achieve that kind of smaller size too, because you don't end up holding kind of that little broom handle, right? That small grip. The front to back overall length of that 9 is a pretty comfortable size for most people to shoot. But then the ability to squeeze that in and either fit in more rounds or just make the overall frame size smaller. So yeah, that's kind of what we see as that next wave is going to be that carry like a 380, hit like a 9.
And Smith & Wesson is going to be the gun that most people purchase for this product out of the gate. They were a great partner for us and came on board. Talk a little bit about what they're going to offer. Yeah,
so they're going to do that Shield Plus, that high capacity, super compact 9. And they're going to do that, and a Shield EZ, which again is great choices, right? Those are the perfect choices, the exact guns that we would have picked if we could have asked them to develop guns for it. They came to that conclusion on their own. They got the pitch on kind of where we were going with 30 Super Carry, and they went, I totally get it. This fits right into what our customers want out of a firearm. And they picked those 2 models. And my understanding is there's going to be some variants with and without thumb safeties and things like that, but that's going to be the 2 platforms that they focus on. 2 extra rounds in each. So instead of a single stack 8 round magazine, you're going to get a 10. And then in that Shield Plus, where they've got the flush fits and the extended capacities, you're going to be able to go up to 15 rounds. So it's you're getting those extra rounds. It's the 10, I believe, goes to a 12, and then the 13 goes to a 15. So you get 2 extra rounds in each of the magazines, and in that nice subcompact platform, perfect application for the cartridge.
That's great. And what capacity makes a big difference when you're in, if you're in the unfortunate situation of having to use your firearm for defense,
right,
having those extra rounds really makes a difference.
Yeah, in talking to a lot of use and force instructors and stuff, we talk about, that if there's a lethal threat, what you're trying to do is make them not a lethal threat, right? You're trying to alter behavior in that moment in time. And when it's a lethal threat like that, it's more opportunities to affect the behavior, right? It's more opportunities to stop a lethal threat from being a lethal threat.
And at the range, it's just more fun.
Yeah, at the range, it's more fun. Yeah, we see that. It's funny when you're used to with the Nighthawk, for example, that 1911. It's a 10-round 9mm, and we're shooting Bianchi plate racks, and you get a couple extra rounds where you don't have to reload. It's pretty fun that first time you realize that, like, I can keep going.
So at launch, how many bullets will we be coming out with? We're at SHOT Show, and so how many bullets will we coming out at the time of launch?
How many different unique loads?
Yep.
So Federal being the ideator of the cartridge, we're going to do an HST and an American Eagle. So you get your carry and your training equivalent. They're both going to be 100 grain. So 100 grain HST, 100 grain American Eagle. and those are going to be about 1250 feet per second. So they're smoking. They're coming out. They're pretty good. Again, it's a little bit higher pressure cartridge than something like a 9. They're moving pretty good. And then Spear is going to do in a gold dot, 115 grain gold dot. Nice to have kind of that for the people who are used to 9, right? That nice association with that 115 grain. Great bullet. That unicore bonding that's making for a really nice projectile for that. So there's going to be the Spear gold dot. And then CCI Blazer Brass is going to do a 115 grain FMJ equivalent for training with that. And then Remington is going to do a couple right away at launch too. So they're going to do the HTP, which is one of their kind of the opening terminal kind of carry bullets. They're going to do that right away with the HTP, and then there's going to be a UMC, and both of those will also be 100 grain. So six SKUs from 3 of the biggest names in personal defense ammunition in the market. So,
and when will people be able to buy it?
In January. So we're going to, by the time SHOT Show happens, there should be ammo starting to hit, right? So it's just kind of where it is through the distribution network, TBD by SHOT Show, but before the end of January, it'll be on the shelves. You'll be able to buy it for sure. And the same with the guns. So Smith is going to have guns out there, and we're going to have ammo out there, and we're working together to make sure they're going to be on shelves together so that people don't have to do a lot of hunting around for it.
Nice. And you mentioned it being a pretty hot load, but we've all shot it. It's a very manageable.
Yeah. If I handed somebody a loaded 30 super carry, not telling them what it was, and had them shoot it, nobody would be able to tell it wasn't a 9. So it's a little bit more immediate report is the easiest way I can explain. It's not more felt recoil. It's not louder per se, like a louder report. It's a little more immediate just because it is really fast, right? So slide moves fast, and you kind of feel that. If you know it's coming, you notice it. But for somebody who didn't know what it was, they wouldn't even notice the difference.
For all the labor you've put into this, a lot of intense labor with you and the engineers, can we get to this launch fast enough?
Yeah, it's exciting. It was fun here today, going through and shooting this stuff and having the engineers, engaging with the engineers is always so much fun. Just seeing these guys, and you can see the gears turning with everything they do, right? Every press of the trigger, they're watching ejection, they're watching recoil, they're looking at muzzle flash, they're looking, for accuracy and where the rounds are hitting. We shoot gel, they're analyzing it right there, and we're doing all that stuff all the time. And that there is no better team in the industry than we have working for us developing bullets.
Well, it's been fun to be part of, and Chris, thank you for your passion about the project and your technical expertise, and we can't wait to help you launch it.
Yeah, I'll be carrying it as soon as I can get one.
So will we.
There's a time and a place for every season. This is that time, and these are those special places. When preparation gives way to anticipation, rituals, and traditions. Friends, family, forever. This is what you live for. It's time to celebrate the annual tradition like no other. It's federal season.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season and the News and Notes segment.
We're at SHOT Show today, but we have shows coming up where we get a chance to meet you, the consumer. Look for us at the Western Hunting Show in Salt Lake City, Utah, February 10th through the 13th. We'll also be at the National Wild Turkey Federation Show in Nashville, Tennessee. That is also February 16th through the 19th. And finally, come see us in Omaha, Nebraska as we celebrate Pheasant Fest. That's March 11th through the 13th. Finally, Federal is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year in 2022. Look for plenty of opportunities to celebrate this milestone with us. Go out to our website, look for special apparel, a commemorative book, or magazine, and you can follow our social channels as we celebrate this historic milestone with the fantastic people and fantastic products made by Federal.
If you like the It's Federal Season podcast, be sure to let us know by filling out a rating and review on iTunes. And remember, for us, it's always in season. It's federal season.